Didn't make it down last night. Had a beer, not a coffee. Jeez, I was done. And it gave me time to think. That's the whole thing. It's just like, oh, geez, got to move those fenders, and just like, oh man, because they're just finally set. The lines are right, you know, and it's like, why don't I say? Then I started thinking, it's like, oh, okay, well, what if I, what if I move this? What if let's go down and take a look. So what I did is I come down this morning and took a look, and I'm looking around, going, there's a couple things there's a thing that really bothered me, on this hood, and let me pop the hood and let me show you what I mean. Take a look here. Here's the hood pin. It's down, and you have to force it down in order for it to hit. For it to latch in there, and it's barely on there. So there's no real, how can I put this? No margin for error. Here, let me show you something that I was thinking about last night. There's the mark. You got 1, 2, 3. Okay, what do we have? Well, we have an 8 by 125 pitch, screw hole right here. What does that mean? Well, every turn means 1.25 millimeters. So what do I have? Well, I have 3.75 or 4 millimeters of thread on this. And that, I feel, is a little too, how can I put this? Not enough too close for comfort. So what I want to do is I want to get this thing all screwed in there. I want to bring it down here. And what we got to do is this. You see this right here. This is what's holding it up. It's this plate right here. The way the hood is, it's like this, and then it comes down to right here. Okay, this is a flat piece. Now, if you take a look at this, this is where it receives in. These are insets for where, well, this is where the original headlamp went, but it hits right here. So what am I going to do? Well, this is what I'm going to do. We also have to miss over here is where the release is. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut this right down. We also have to figure out where the actual side, or that front tie-in bar. Here is the bar that we're going to have to cross and have, because you also have right here is the hood catch or whatever. This thing has to get spun around, but it doesn't matter. It's just getting this bar equal. Now, if I'm looking at it right here, so if we take this all out, I can make a plate so this bar fits. That's the whole thing. So it's going to do two things. We're going to have to make a mounting section right here anyway, and seeing how we'll get rid of all of this, it'll actually probably be a lot stiffer. And then when this bar is on here, we can have everything all squared away, no problem. But let's first give this a cut. That's, you know what? I want to just cut this right out, right to here, and just so we can drop it down and see what we got. So let me just make the first cut. I'll bend it over and see what happens. Oh yeah, much better. Oh, much better. Oh, I feel confident now. And it levels up. All right, good. Now I feel better about that. I was worrying about that all night. Here on the right front, it's still, right there, as you can see. I pulled this down, I got to pull this down, and this is going to have to come down a little bit also, like that, in order to bring it down. Then I got to box all this stuff in and keep it down this way. This is a little bit high, but it's fine for clearance. As you can see, you pull this in, it goes right up, easily snaps in. This has to come down and boxed in. This has to come down, boxed in. You know, that way we can remake this entire thing so it doesn't move. Let's take a look over there. It's the same thing over on the left-hand side. Doesn't that fit nice? It's a positive lock. The other one just didn't have a positive lock. You can see this right here is flat. This right here is flat. This thing was pushing this thing up. So now we got to make this entire section right here, weld it all in. Make sure, you know, when the cable's right here, goes right here, it doesn't go beyond this right here. Nothing will intrude in there, so this thing will definitely allow it to pop open like that. Now, I feel so much better with this. This is what you get when you have a beer at night and think about this stuff, you know? Because you got to think about it. Now, with all this stuff the way it is, now I can start figuring out, okay, well, I need this plate inside here to clean it all up. So let's figure out what we're going to use for a plate and set up everything so it'll actually go in, you know? And I left enough so I can just, you know, trim here, trim there, and try and make it into something or do whatever. But, you know, this to me is, I really, really like that. So let me oh, look at this. The alternator, look at that. The alternator just clears. Better to be lucky than good. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. All right, let's make a tie bar so we can start putting all this stuff in and we can start pounding and trimming all this stuff to make it welded up. So, all right, I feel much better. Let's put this thing down and let's see what we can do. We have to figure out how we're going to place the bar. Well, one of the things is that one of the things is that we have a emergency hood catch, basically, is what it is. And it seems to only fit one way. I've tried numerous ways to do it, so it looks like it only fits this way, you know. And I got to figure out where the hood latch is going to be. So, or the safety catch. That's going to be the $1 million question. Here is the latch mechanism, or the safety latch mechanism from that burnt up 4000 hood. What it is just a couple pieces of steel, right there, and this is the top covering. All welded and welded onto the hood. So it won't go anywhere, you know, and this is actually kind of overkill probably for it, but, you know, better to be overkill than underkill. We have retention springs right there. And this, you can pull this pin and pull this out, but I'm not going to because I'm going to keep this portion right here. And what I'm going to match it on, I'm just going to pretty much match this base on this metal. And all I'm going to do is just transfer a pattern pretty much over, because this is really, really thick steel. It's as thick as this. And I'll bend up the corners just to make it, you know, even more structurally stable. And that way it'll affix right to that hood. That's pretty much it. And also, if you're wondering, you know, here is this latch, and this is in backwards, but it clears, you know. So this is what was meant to go here, and if you look at like this, it's right on. So that's pretty much the way I'm going to have to do it. You know, it's the small things that you have to figure out and make work. That's pretty much it. So let me cut the holes in that and cut the panel off, or cut the panel up, drill the holes, and let's make this all work. Yeah, here's a start. This will get us in the ballpark, you know. Then I can tack it to it and grind it and weld the thing completely in there. Now we have a rough estimate of where this is going to go. And it's going to have to go. So we have to make sure it goes this side so it hooks here. If we have it it up this high. This way, when it goes up, it'll catch it and go back in a little bit. Got to start trimming here and here so I can push it back in to see how far I can get it back, you know. And this is almost at the top of the intercooler. I got to put the intercooler, I get to put everything back in after I trim this out. Well, I think I'm going to try this on top. I think it's going to hit the intercooler, I think. Well, something like that. Trying to place it exact in the center. There's a gap right here, so I'm going to tack it right there, then pull it off so it doesn't overheat the fiberglass. Then I can weld it on the bench. Looking at where this is supposed to go, it's gonna, you know, pretty much this top is to the bottom right here, you know? So we need kind of something to bring it down, because we can always build upwards. Going down is much harder. So I gotta replace this entire front piece right here. And what am I gonna use? We got more of the drafting table right there. I'm gonna go all the way to here, where this original factory line is right there. And I'm gonna go all the way to here. So it's going to be pretty much just like that, this much of the piece. I got to cut that off, grind this, and we'll start welding it all in. We have to make sure we don't hit this. That's a big thing because that's for the hood release. And we can keep, you know, I can cut over here and bend it down and use it for this blocking plate right there. So let me go grab the grinder and cutter and all that stuff, and let's get this thing done. Well, it looks like I need to push this back a little bit that way, but that doesn't bother me. I think I have it in straight enough. Let's take a look and see what it looks like on the overall picture. This definitely needs to be trimmed right here. Here's the bar. This right here is loose, but it's farther way over. It's all the way over this way. I can't bring it any further. Right here is the center line where I got the equidistant point on the center bar. I measured up the engine bay, and it seems like right here I made this mark, and it's pretty much right on this fan blade, and it's about 10 millimeters off. You know, if my marking is correct, you know, you could be variations either side, and you know what, 10 millimeters is not that bad. I'm gonna have to live with it because I'm stuck with where the hood latch catch is, because I can't move it any way over. I can move it a lot this way, but I can't move it this way. So we'll have this thing bolted down. But first I gotta use a plate like this, and we're going to make some hole, you know, because there's threaded inserts on these. Make a couple of holes, then weld it and go right through. And I'll show you what I'm going to do here. But it's, you know, fairly straightforward. So let's just let me cut this plate up so we can get these things all affixed. Bar is pretty much in. What do we got to do next? Well, we have to put the bumper back on to fit the grill and the lights. Because we know the hood, this will fit. It's going to need some adjustments and stuff like that, but not bad. I mean, it's easily we can do this. But what we got to do is before, you know, we put the headlamp and the grill in, Well, we first have to make sure that we can open up the hood afterwards, because we close it. Yeah, we can get it this side, but this side over here, you can't get your finger in and pull, you know? And plus with the grill sitting right here, trying to pull that is going to be just not good. So, all right, we need to get the cable from this mount, or this hood latch, to this hood latch. But let me show you what I'm going to use. This is what we're going to use. Take a look. This is a fuel line, or the least rusty section of the fuel line that I took from one of the 4000s. And anybody out there who's from the Northeast or any place where they use salt, you know the lines rust on these cars like crazy. So it's amazing I have this much line left, you know, from it not being rusted. Now that we have figured out what we're going to use to direct the hood latch cable. Now, one thing we have to do is we have to pretty much have the most shallow bend possible in this cable. Because what is the cable doing? Well, the cable wants to go from here to here. Let me just put this to be easier. The cable wants to go from here to here, and it wants to go in a straight line. We have to have 3 mounts on this thing. First thing, one mount to set where this is going to be over here and where it's going to be here. We also need the other mount to set to stop it from being pulled into the alternator, because that's the only thing that there's no gravity effect on it. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring the cable around with the least amount of angle bend. Why do we want the least amount of angle bend? Because we want to disperse the cable energy all along that bend. And as we can make it as shallow as possible, that means the cable will actually last longer, or the sheathing that I'm going to be putting in here will last longer. And any type of, how can I put this? We can reduce the resistance. It reduces the effort of you pulling the cable. And if something gets stuck, you can pull it and it'll come right up. So it won't be a problem. That's pretty much it. But the good thing is we have an alternator pulley here that, you know, you can see all these small bends like this, you know, from pulling it out. And now all we have to do is just, I want to get it pretty much flat to where it is, and then slowly bring the curve around, you know. And if I can do it nice and equal to this, I am much happy. I mean, I can't really do it, but I can't do it in the fact that it won't be equidistant, because we do have different variations of turns that we have to do, but that's beside the point. Let's first you know, get this thing kind of cleaned up. Then I'm going to put it on there. You know, I want to get it basically straight, and then I'll bend it to where I need it to go, and I'm going to go off inside here. There it is. They're both on the eyelet. Let me show you. Here's the position of that tubing on the eyelet. It's a little, you know, it's just barely on there, but it gives us a pretty good reference. From eyelet to eyelet, this is where the cable wants to go. And I want to keep it absolutely straight. So I'm trying to pull this. I can keep it just nice and easy like this. So that way I can make a mount for right here and make the mount right here. This mount won't have to be too big, and I'm going to cut it off where the real rusty stuff is and bring it up and then weld it on. But it should be really, really tight. But I'm not going to cut it until I get the mounts welded on. So let me go grab, let me just clean this thing off, and I'll show you what I use for the mounts. Okay, now we got that cleaned off. What are we going to use for mounts? Well, I scavenged this mount. I don't know what it came from. I believe it's Passat, but I'm not sure. But actually, what do we got here? Yeah, it's Volkswagen. But whatever. What do we got here? Well, we have these things are drilled through straight through, and we need a capture nut. And I didn't feel like welding one on the back, so I'm going to use this. What this will do, will go underneath here and sit just like that and bolt in. I'll pull this up and I will weld it to this. This way this is all set. Then the excess right here will go over to this. Seeing how there's a flat ridge, I'm going to put it like that or like that, and we're going to have it bolt right there. Right there. Or somewhere around there. And that's the way I'll have it put in. Let's see what it looks. Let's see what it looks like after I cut them up and make it work, and possibly make it work. But there's this mount, there's this mount, and what I'm going to use for the other side mount is this. Do I know what it's from? Nope. But it had a capture nut on it. All I'm going to do is just put it here and hope for the best. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to start on the plate and just barely, just make the weld flow into the tubing because the tubing's thin. That's the problem. But it seems to be working pretty good. What I got to do now is I got to take it off and I'm going to trim it up. Actually, I'm just going to trim some pieces here where I want it trimmed with the cutter, and we'll then pull it off and it's all squared away. The rest of it up. Alright, I got this all just cut off. I still have to grind it down a little bit to make it pretty, but it's right there. This is what's going to happen. So we have to finish it by putting a sheath in it to allow the cable to go through and take up any slack. What am I going to use is this right here. This was the vacuum reservoir that we cut off of the inside of the fender. We're probably going to have a vacuum reservoir, but it's going to be located in the trunk. So I won't be needing this. And you see this line right here, this vacuum line, is hard line. It's basically, pretty tough. It goes right in. Let's trim this, and then I'm going to put the cable in it, and it goes right in. It's by sheer luck, but it works. This is one of the junk cables out of the 4000s. It didn't come out of this because I put the one for this in a safe place, and I don't remember where I put it. Well, let's see if it works. Well, appears to. This thing needs a little oiling, but other than that, I think it's, yeah, it works. Let's close the hood. I want to do this. Well, we know it locks. Let's see if it unlocks. That's the $100,000 question. Ha! Woohoo! We have a working locking mechanism for the hood. Or bonnet catch, whatever you want to call it. All right. That makes me happy. Now, let's put the bumper back on so we can fit the headlamps and we can fit the grill and all that stuff and get this done. This has been bugging the living snot out of me, but I had it in my mind, but I had to wait to get to this point. All right, let's put that stuff on. Before we put the bumper on, I got to get the nuts to weld onto this, but I'm going to change direction. Let me show you what I'm going to use. This is what I'm going to use. It's that Passat trunk lid, which keeps on giving, you know, that we use for everything else. Well, I'm going to use these. These are M6s because what I was thinking of is, like, I was using M8s in here and seeing how originally I was going to use M8s because I wanted the intercool to hang on here, but it's not. It's hanging on the chassis. We don't need M8s. And another thing is, the reason why I kind of want to do this is so I can take off the entire front end, everything, with a 10 millimeter socket. I mean, yeah, I have a 13 here, but I have, the thing is, I'm going to show you what I did, exact same thing here, because these are 8 by 125 and this still is an 8 by 125 or an M8 thread. And I just have to grab one for here. What these are from a Ford van. They use a 10 millimeter head with an 8 by 125 shank. So it's, I mean, this is, I'm forced into using this, you know. The M6s, boxes and boxes of 10 millimeter nut, hex head M6s out there, but I have very few of the M8s. So, but I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut the other one out, and I'm going to weld it to this. But I'm going to clean this off, and then put the bolts in there, put them relatively center, then weld them. You know, or tack them in, then I'll weld them in fully. But I just wanted to let you know that because I'm changing, because before I said it was M8 thread, I'm changing it to M6. And the reason is because I originally wanted the intercooler on this, but it's not. It's going to be on the actual chassis. That way we can take virtually every single, well, I think we can kind of be able to take every single thing off of this thing with a 10 millimeter. At least that's what my final goal is. Whether or not it's going to work that way is another thing, but I think I can do it. Let me cut this out, grind this, and then we'll stick this all back in there and put the bolts in there so we can have it set so I can tack it in. Well, the way I cut them, I had to cut these in half, but because they're about 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters, too close, but whatever. What a grinder's for. This blows. Can't use the emergency release catch. Well, let me think about this. Signing off. Well, through movie magic, I had to really sit and think about this one. What I'm going to do is continue on. I got to mount the grill, mount the lights, make sure the fenders are all set, and finish mounting all that stuff. This is going to be last for the safety kits for the hood. I'm going to have it. There's no other way around it really where I can put it. There is no other place. When this is all done and I'm happy, and I'm going to trim just enough off of this in order to allow that latch to go down there and hook up. So that's about all I can do. So we need to make a mounting system for the grill. Well, the grill has one tab right here, and it's not really a tab, but it's just a, I can say it's a tab, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. Now, what I got to do is I got to build a system that basically holds these tabs on the bottom and locks it in up top. I'm not really sure. I might use another screw here, right there, because it looks like there's places for it. Now we can put it, but I don't really know yet on doing that. The first thing I got to do is set up a mounting system to have those tabs on the bottom. That mounting system is going to do a couple things actually. First thing was mount this grill. The second thing, I want this thing to become more of a piece of structure of this, so it'll raise this just a hair, because this is dipping down. This thing goes flat, then it dips down, then it goes up. Actually, it's just like the Quattros. And the Quattros had a metal grill part that the urethane bumper actually fit on. This thing is a little bit floppy. I mean, it's not bad, but I want to lock this in completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another mount for this, for this bumper right here. I'm going to weld it onto this and go onto here. Let me show you what I'm going to use. This is what I'm going to use. This is the rest of the Euro-C van. I'm bound and determined to use every bit of this. What it is I'm going to put it, this bar right here, it's going to be like this. And it's going to create a box frame. This is part of a Subaru airbag holder, and it's going to go up here. I'm going to have a plate, which I have to drill some holes, and it's going to bolt onto here. So it's going to, but the thing is I have to use enough of this bar to clear the actual bumper so I don't make any holes in the bumper. That's kind of one thing I want to do. Then we're just going to weld it right to this, and it should be all right. And I'll weld it to that so it'll be all triangulated. That'll look good. Let's see if it hopefully it works. now that we have the tabs on, we need to lock the grill in place. I mean, it's, it's actually, the fit, the resistance fit is very good. What we got to do is we also have to put some screws in here to guarantee it doesn't come off. That's the only thing. Dirt roads, people who want to take the grill, well, that's first thing. What we need to do is we need to look at where we can mount this. And I found 3 places where I'm going to try and mount this. So let me show you. Here we are on the left-hand side of the car. The grill is exactly the same on either side. They have places to drill holes right here and right here. Seeing how we have the tabs down on the bottom, I don't believe we're going to need these, but I'm going to put screws up here first, and if I think we need it down the bottom, yeah, I'll do it here. Also, what are we going to put right here? Take a look at this. This was one of the mounting points for the headlights that I put onto the headlights for in here. What it is I'm going to do a completely different mounting system. So I took this off the headlamp frame, and pretty much I'm going to bolt it to the bottom of this bar. That way it pretty much almost looks factory, But let me go pound this down, drill a couple of holes, drill the hole here, and set up a mounting system. Let's see if it works. I had to put a slot in the back because it just wasn't aligning up the way I did it, and it was just too hard to do that. So what I'm going to do, seeing how I have this plate right here, I'm going to tack it right there and in the back, and that'll just give me more support. And what this will do is just add to the big washer. That's about it. But it's there. It's not going anywhere. And I'll weld the sides right there, and you can still have the bolts and the for tightening everything down. That's pretty much that. Let's go do the other side. It's pretty much the same thing, so we'll just whiz right through that. I think that's pretty tight. And I don't think I'm going to do a third one unless I really need it. I don't think so, but we'll leave that till later. Let's do the next thing that we need. Let's close the hood, and let's see if we need to get these fenders completely aligned. I think that's the next step that we have to do. So before we fit the headlights, because these panels right here are directly related to the fenders, not the headlamps. So let me clear the tools off the car, and we'll close the hood, and we'll see how everything matches up.